Spent 5 months copying Macbeth by hand. Here's what I learnt. So 5 months ago, I started to copy Macbeth by hand. And today, coincidentally, is National Writers' Day, and it happens to coincide with the day that I actually finished it. I thought I was just reading Shakespeare slowly. I wasn't. I was taking like an apprenticeship. And these are the 5 things Shakespeare taught me. Number 1, dramatic irony. One thing Shakespeare taught me is that bad news hits hardest when delayed. There's a scene where Macbeth learns that Macduff has fled to England, and therefore he sees him or eyes him as a traitor. So he orders the murder of his wife, his kids, and everyone else that's at his castle. And Shakespeare lets us witness this. Then we cut away to Macduff and Malcolm in England, who are having like they're sussing each other out really to see whether who's on whose side and all that kind of stuff, and then planning to retake Scotland. It's then that Ross arrives. Everyone knows what has happened apart from Macduff, and this heightens the tension. Ross is awkward, he kind of avoids the question. Macduff asked about his family, and Ross says, they're at peace, which is true, but not in a way that Macduff expects it or understands it. And we sit there waiting, begging for somebody to tell him, until Ross says, your castle is surprised, your wife and babes savagely slaughtered. And strangely at that moment there's relief, not because of what happened, but because the truth has finally arrived. Shakespeare taught me that tragedy hurts more when we see it coming. Bad news hits hardest when delayed. Number 2, setups and payoffs. Shakespeare plants seeds and trusts us to remember them. The witches tell Macbeth, Macbeth shall never vanquished be, until great Birnam wood, to hide on Sinan Hill, shall come against him. Macbeth, by this point in the story, feels invincible. How could a forest move? Months after I copied that prophecy into this book, I reached the final act. And Malcolm tells his soldiers to cut down branches and carry them as camouflage. A messenger arrives in terror to the castle where Macbeth is based, in Dunsinane Castle it is. And he says, my lord, I looked towards Birnam, and anon methought the wood began to move. And for me that's such a striking image. It's almost like Tolkien and the Ents, and just for that prophecy to finally be realised in such a dramatic but smart and clever way, and knowing that he'd planted those seeds early on, and then for that to then be related in a way that you wouldn't, because when you hear that a forest has got to move, then you're on Macbeth's side, you're like, well, that's not going to happen, is it? So, but obviously, it's Shakespeare, so it's going to. So great stories plant seeds long before they bloom. Number 3, Shakespeare trusts the imagination. Something that surprised me was how little Shakespeare describes places. There are no pages of scenery, no long descriptions of castles, no paragraphs about misty landscapes, just little suggestions. So in the opening, when shall we 3 meet again, in thunder, lightning, or in rain? That is all he gives us. And somehow you can see the heath, you can see the storm, the witches, you can picture it so vividly. And I know that probably you've seen many versions of Macbeth, but at the same time, there's a reason why those images are always so vivid in these films or in these plays. It's just because he gives you just little hints of what's going on. It's in the language, and all of a sudden you are there. You could see the thunder, you could see the lightning, you could see that supernatural kind of spinning of the cosmos in a way where it's like there's something strange that is happening there. And just even what I'm describing there, Shakespeare trusts you to finish the picture, really. Maybe that's why the world feels, or maybe that's why his worlds feel so alive. Suggestion can be more powerful than description. Number 4, Shakespeare writes music. After 5 months, I stopped seeing words and I started to hear the music. Most of Shakespeare's kings and nobles speak with a heartbeat rhythm. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. You listen to Macbeth in this bit. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well. You can almost clap along to it, But then the witches appear and suddenly the music changes. So there's double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, cauldron, bubble. By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. It sounds less like conversation and it becomes more like a chant. This is all done purposely as well, by the way, because Lady Macbeth is a perfect example. She changes. Early on, she's powerful and she's controlled with, in this example, sorry, come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts. You know, it's highly poetic. But when she's sleepwalking and everything begins to break apart, so does the language too when it goes to prose. And it goes to out, damn spot, out, I say. The rhythm disappears. The line becomes broken because her mind is broken. And even if you know nothing about poetry, you can feel something has changed. Shakespeare doesn't just tell stories with words, he tells them with music too. And when the music changes, something inside the story changes as well. Number 5, living with characters. The thing that surprised me most was the grief. By the time that Lady Macbeth had died, I was physically upset, which is strange really because she's such a terrible person. But I'd spent 5 months with her. I'd watched her rise and I'd watched her fall. And Shakespeare doesn't ask us to approve of people, he asks us to understand them. And the same thing also happened then with Macbeth. What struck me wasn't that he was just evil, which he was an absolute tyrant, wasn't he? But then it was the fact at the end that he was so alone. Banquo was gone, Lady Macbeth was gone, his honour was gone, his friends were gone, even the witches had disappeared. He was standing among the ruins of his own making. And somehow, despite everything, tragedy makes us pity people we would never admire. I won't remember everything that Macbeth taught me, but I suspect it will remember me for a very long time to come, because after 5 months, some of Shakespeare has already started to seep through the pores of my skin, I'm constantly hearing the rhythms going through my head, so I'll probably develop some kind of Shakespeare tinnitus or something like that. But anyway, I discovered things I would have missed if I'd have just simply skipped through it once, and read it quickly. Being within something for that long was just it was an incredible experience. I got the idea to do it from Hunter S. Thompson, anyway, who copied Hemingway and Fitzgerald on his typewriter to understand how they worked and what it was like to write a masterpiece. But anyway, like every art form, we learn from the masters, not to become them, but to become more ourselves. So I'm taking a short break, and then I'm going to begin again with the next one, and maybe go to the poets now, maybe Wordsworth's The Prelude, or Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner, or even T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. But eventually, if I'm feeling brave enough, I'm going to do King Lear, because that'd be amazing. But anyway, happy National Writers' Day. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. If you like it, please consider subscribing, liking the video, or even commenting with any of your thoughts or your favourite Shakespeare plays. It'd be amazing to open a conversation with you and to see what you're into. But yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.